the standard kind of education that has been established. They have forgotten that they have been with the University of Jesus Christ. What's the point? Jesus picked them up. So leadership in adversity is when things are not shown going on well, but you are still exemplified. You are still exhibiting your leadership skills. That is what it is. That is what it is. What else? I said patient and restraint, despite opportunities to kill Saul. For instance, I put India in the cave. You read that in First Samuel chapter 24. David refused to seize power through violence, honoring God's timing. In business or whatever you find yourself, there are going to be times where if you're not, you would probably want to do some shortcut. That's reality. You see what I'm saying? But no matter what it is, a good leader, with a wisdom of a wise leader, you would exercise patience and thank God. If you're a Christian listening to me now, you have the fruit of the Spirit, patience, self-control. You see what I'm saying? Because you would cut corners. Business, the difficulty of the business, the difficulty of the ministry, the difficulty of the marriage, the difficulty of financial, things and whatever, or what have you, would probably, if you're not careful, you'll be you try to look the other way. You try to implement some unethical ways. You see what I'm saying? No, 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 no. David was patient and patient and restrained. That is what wisdom of a wise leader does. That is a characteristics of a wise wisdom of a wise leader. Despite opportunity to kill Saul, no, 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 no. David could have said, you know what? Here comes an opportunity. This man I'm pursuing me all over the place. Maybe you are running for office, which I encourage most of you listening to me now. Probably you are called to run for office, for a local office. Maybe I have to find time to do some teaching on that too. A local office, and or you are already probably in office. Maybe you're on a school board. Maybe you are a council member. Um, you know, all those are very powerful positions. You see what I'm saying? And or maybe before going there, you try to no, 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 no. If you are a Christian, allow the fruit of the Spirit to work through you. David could have said, "Oh, no, 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 no." He said, "This man, I have an opportunity. He's gone." No, he didn't do that. Don't do that. That would have been a shortcut, right? Cutting corners. No, no, he did not do that. He honored God's timing in life. Business, marriage, bringing up kids, what have you. There are times in our lives where we think, man, let me just cut corners here. But there is always a price to pay. There's always consequences to that. So wisdom of a wise leader, would always consider those consequences before he take any action. Then I have here mentorship through example. David model, David model, integrity, building deep loyalty, and that later form the core of his mighty man. So wisdom of a wise leader, you also model, you set an example by mentorship. You set an example by mentorship. They see you doing what you do, you talk to them, this is how you go about things. That is how those who are around you, will follow exactly what they want to become, because they see you model that right after them. Where was I? Yeah. But let me read something here that I have probably at something that okay, since I am here, let me talk about that. I said true leaders develop people where they are, fostering unity amid leadership. I mean hardship rather than demanding perfection. I have a young fella, even my own kids, you know, um, um, thank God, my kids. I'm a blessed man. You know, uh, what I see, what I see God is doing, um, through them, in them. I say, Lord, I'm very thankful. You see what I'm saying? And there was a time my son, the one that we still under the same uh, roof. I want to use him and my daughter. There were times I'm like, I'm seeking. I'm like, Henry, no, you can't do that. You can't be seeking perfection. Real leaders, you just encourage. That does not mean that you are condoning anything. That does not mean that you are overlooking anything. You do it in love. You see what I'm saying? You do it in love, and that is how you mentorship through example. You model integrity, building deep loyalty, and that later will form the core of your followers. You see what I'm saying? Am I learning? I'm still learning. You see what I'm saying? I'm still learning as I'm teaching, as I'm preparing. I'm getting myself in tune for a lot of these things. Where are we? So I talk about true leadership develop, people where they are fostering unity amid, hardship rather than demanding perfection, right? Demanding perfection. Now, before I read my other portion, sometimes my accent just shows up like crazy, right? And it just comes out. I do my best to, what I do, I try to speak as clear as I can. Would I love to have had the typical American accent? Yes, of course. But hey, this is the best I can come up with. So you know what I'm saying? So uniting the kingdom and establishing, this is the third portion of. So again, with what we're talking about, wisdom of a wise leader, episode 2. We did I did the first episode last Sunday, and this is the second episode. I dealt with part one within the second episode, part one and part two. I'm here on part three within the second episode. Here I'm talking about uniting the kingdom and establishing Jerusalem. You find that in 2 Samuel chapter 5. Pick up the Bible. Pick up the Bible and read it for yourself. That's what I'm talking about. After Saul's death, David was first anointed king over Judah, then over all Israel at age 30. When you are age 30, that is where things starts. You see what I'm saying? At age 30. Those of us who are way above that now, I believe that sometimes I was telling somebody yesterday that God allows some of us to to live a little bit longer for a particular reason. Some of the things that I believe that I could have accomplished before this time in my life, didn't materialize. But God has a plan because I'm still with Him. Are you there? So you could start yours at age 20, 22, 30, 35, 40. You see what I'm saying? Whatever age you start at. Moses, we always use Moses when it comes to that phase too. Moses was 80. That does not mean that God is going to wait till you are 80. But Moses was 80, before he led the Israelites, and he led them for 40 years. Who knows? Maybe he could have even lasted longer than 120 years if he did not disobey, instead of him speaking to the rock and then hitting the rock instead of him speaking to it. You know what I'm saying? Probably. But still, so God has a plan for everyone. So uniting the kingdom, and again, I believe I'm saying something here that resonates with you, saying something that resonates so much with you. And so I have read that, and I said you find that in after Saul's death, David was first anointed king over Judah, then over all Israel. At age 30, he captured the Jebusite stronghold of Jerusalem, making it the political and spiritual capital. Political and spiritual capital. You find that in 2 Samuel chapter 5, verse 12, where David realized that the Lord had established him as king over Israel and has exalted his kingdom for the sake of his people Israel. And again, wisdom of a wise leader. God has given you something today. It is not just for you, it's for the generation. It's for this generation and the generations to come. Now, that is when I'm putting all these things out. I say, Lord, somebody may not watch it right now. I watched the late Miles Monroe. And I see some of his clips online. The man is long gone. You see what I'm saying? So when I'm putting some of these things, I say, Lord, unless you return, it is going to be having an impact. The books he has caused me to write, oh, my current one, from Sinai to the empty tomb, I'm very excited about that because that is complete. I covered the entire Bible. Oh, excited, so excited. That is going to outlive me. You see what I'm saying? Because it is in print, right? So the insight here, the leadership insight here on this particular here is vision for unity. David bridged tribal divisions through covenant and strategic leadership. That's what he did. Vision for unity. David bridged tribal divisions through covenant and strategic leadership. Right? So here I have strategic foresight, choosing a neutral, defensible city as capital, promoted national cohesion. So over here, as I was talking about strategic foresight, choosing a neutral, defensible city as a capital promoted, national cohesion. There, in my note, I have here, no, I even have it on here, humility in success. David was so humble in a way. That is a characteristic of a leader. I believe, just pick up the Bible and read second again. This is why I'm not reading every passage of the. So you see that even then, I have a few minutes that I left that I haven't even cover everything here, but I'm going to do my best to cover what I have on the screen. All right. And so, vision for unity. If you have vision for unity within your organization, you just follow here. You bridge gaps. You don't burn bridges. You see what I'm saying? You don't become these antagonistic individual. You find ways, to amend. So David bridged tribal divisions through covenant and strategic leadership. Then strategic foresight. What did he do? The strategic foresight there was choosing a neutral, defensible city as a capital which promoted national cohesion. You do something that will promote national cohesion. Whatever that is, you have to find out that will promote national cohesion, that everybody can, come around. Are you there? I believe that then humility is key. Humility is success. I had a lot of teachers, and then probably I might have read a couple of things too on leadership book regarding that. When you are up there, it takes humility to maintain your status. When you are down here, it takes humility. You see what I'm saying? In both ways, whether high and low, you and I need humility. Humility in success. He attributed his rise to God's favor for the people's benefit. Who do you attribute your success to? That's humility. This phase again highlights the leader's role in building stable institutions and shared identity. In this stage, you build what? As a leader, as wisdom of a wise leader, what do? You build a stable institutions and shared identity. In many organizations, you see folks build, for instance, in many ministries, when God blesses a ministry, you see that they have hospital, schools, a place that institutions that share, some identity, that you help, So we're gonna go to so bringing the ark to Jerusalem. These prioritizing worship as wisdom of a wise leader. You have to come to a point, something that can bring everyone together. In this instance, it is God of the creation. I don't know what you want to look at from that perspective. It is God of the creation. It is God of the creation. Here, David sought to restore the Ark of the Covenant, the symbol of God's presence, because that the Ark of the Covenant is a symbol of God's presence, right? To the center of national life. His first attempt failed due to improper handling, resulting in Uzzah's death. When you go read that particular subject, you realize that the covenant cannot just be touched by anybody, and God struck him dead. So David considered that a failure, but he learned, corrected the process, and celebrated with wholehearted worship. And so here, as we talk about this, as I talk about the highlight of the leader's role in building stable, this phase, as I talk about that, one thing David did was bringing the ark to Jerusalem to prioritize worship. And then the insight there, the leadership insight there that I gathered there, number one, reverence for God's ways as you build your organization. If you're a believer, if you're a minister, if you are an entrepreneur, a Christian entrepreneur, you have to implement this. You have to reverence God's ways. David adjusted his method after failure, modeling teachability. So when you and I do that, we model teachability. We show others that, okay, yeah, we can be teachable. You see what I'm saying? We can be teachable, because when this gentleman got struck down because he touched that, and David considered that to be a failure, he just he didn't just leave it there. No, he did not leave it there right that. If you are a minister or a Christian leader, your reverence for God's way, the insight there, reverence for God's way. If you are a Christian leader and you have an organization, if I were you, if I don't have a designated chaplain in organization, I always think about that. I'll find a way to institute some form of prayer, just to show my folks that I attributed all this to him. So I'm saying reverence for God's way. So wisdom of a wise leader, that is what you do. I don't know how, if you're not a Christian, I don't know how you're going to do that, but find a way. Find a way, find a way to do that. Joyful, which is authentic worship. He led by example, undeterred by criticism from his wife, Michael. That was a wife given to him by King Saul. The lady made fun of his husband. Her husband. Because when David brought the Ark of the Covenant, which was the presence of God, David was overjoyed. And he danced. Go read the passage. He danced. And the lady was not happy. Say, how could you dance in front of these slave girls? How could you do that? The Bible says she despised David in her heart. And to a point, according to the historical account, it doesn't look as if David even had anything to do with her till her, death. Because so in your in your leadership as a wisdom of a wise leader, you are going to encounter criticisms. How you deal with it, is your problem. How you deal with it is your problem. And again, like I have here, I say criticizing faith. No, centralizing. Where are we? Okay, let me see here. I don't want to. Okay, centralizing faith, placing the ark in Jerusalem integrated spiritual vitality with governance. When you prioritize something within that organization, in this instance, in David's life, it was the Ark of the Covenant. Whatever it is in your organization, you have to find something that is central. Something that has purpose and meaning to the organization. Then you can always have folks. So that was what David did. But I believe that, like I was saying, this is just universal to everybody, and universal. It is really universal, and everybody can incorporate this into their leadership skills. Leaders who keep worship and obedience to God, that is central, create environment of blessing and stability. You see what I'm saying? Leaders who do that, they create that. Let me see here. Leaders who keep worship. And so I'm going to leave that there. And I'm going to be covering, by the grace of God, come next Sunday. I'm going to be doing episode 3 from next Sunday. I believe that you have been blessed by this teaching, Wisdom of a Wise Leader, episode 2. If you have not watched the episode, the first episode, this was last Sunday, go watch it. I'm going to be uploading this on the social media platform for your benefit. But I want to remind you again before I leave that by the grace of God, today from 3 to 5 p.m. we are going to be having prayer at 14625 Greenfield Road, exactly on Grand River and Greenfield. We are going to be having prayer. So if you don't hear me pray here today, I have prayed this morning. I have prayed, I prayed around 2 o'clock. I prayed about 1 hour 45 minutes today. I did not pray for 2 hours.